It's midnight and you're tuning into Nightline with me, Azaria. Tagaya. The top stories. Eradicating cartels, monopolies top of PM's list to alleviate cost of living woes. And no more blaming victims, banks must investigate fraud. Good morning. Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim said on Tuesday that he still has not given up his fight against cartels and monopolies in Malaysia and has put the matter on top of his list. Ahead of the 2025 budget, the Prime Minister acknowledged that the rise of the cost of living in Malaysia is still present and affecting the public, and he has vowed to remedy this. At a dialogue session on the 2025 budget at the Finance Ministry in Putrajaya, Anwar, who's also the Finance Minister, said the upcoming third budget of his administration is set to raise the bar on public welfare, in addition to increasing the volume of foreign and domestic trade.
Dan kita harus juga fikir kaedah baru melenyapkan kartel atau monopoli atau mengelak ketirisan supaya kepulangan itu akan balik kepada rakyat dari segi sama ada direct financial grant seperti STR ataupun bantuan-bantuan khusus untuk yang paling miskin, air sara, atau menumpukan yang saya berikan keutamaan bidang kesihatan dan pendidikan.
He said the government will also continue to improve and implement plans from last year while strengthening local businesses. Anwar also touched on restructuring the economy and government departments so that they are more efficient and will conduct their duties with integrity. The 2025 budget is scheduled to be tabled on October 18th this year. Earlier at the Dewan Rakyat, Anwar reiterated that the government was ready to provide allocation for the opposition members of parliament MPs following a proper negotiation process. The Prime Minister said the negotiations, however, must be carried out with all opposition parties simultaneously. The Prime Minister said this during question time in response to Muar MP Syed Saddiq Syed Abdul Rahman, who inquired on the allocation for opposition MPs. Anwar added that he has been informed by Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadillah Yusof that the Muar MP has shared some views on the allocation for opposition MPs. However, he pointed out that the negotiation is not to be done by the opposition separately.
Saya tidak faham mengapa proses ini jadi rumit. Tetap tarikh, unding. Dan syarat-syarat yang dikatakan syarat-syarat dalam proses biasa dalam mana-mana negara demokrasi, ya, perjalanan tentang dasar utama, dan kemudian kalaupun tidak bersetuju tak apa, patah balik. Jadi sekali lagi saya ingat berulang kali saya telah sebutkan kesediaan kita, tapi biar ikut proses dalam amalan demokrasi berparlimen.
He added that the opposition, starting from the party leaders and its representatives, should appoint representatives to discuss. Previously, Fadillah said the Unity Government Secretariat's top leadership had decided to consider allocating funds for opposition MPs. He said the Secretariat had agreed to prepare a Memorandum of Understanding draft which would be presented to the opposition for negotiation. On another matter, the Prime Minister sought to allay fears over Malaysia joining the Brics intergovernmental organisation, saying it would not affect domestic politics. Anwar told the Dewan Rakyat that the application process to join the bloc may take some time, but Malaysia will likely be admitted as a partner country soon. Anwar said that although the systems of countries like China and Russia are different, but in terms of trade and cooperation, they are countries that are close to Malaysia. The Prime Minister said Malaysia's decision is not to interfere in the domestic political affairs of each country, but emphasise the priority of economic trade and expand the network so that the country and the people, especially traders and investors, will benefit from it.
Kita percaya rangkaian ini akan memberikan kekuatan baru kerana KDNK negara anggota Brics itu sendiri sudah mencecah 26.6 trilion US dollar, iaitu 26.2% daripada KDNK dunia. Maka kalau kita membuka jalur ini, kita yakin akan memberi manfaat untuk syarikat-syarikat dan ekonomi negara kita.
The Prime Minister first announced Malaysia's intention to join Brics in June. Brics now accounts for a quarter of the global economy, including a fifth of global trade, with a population of around 40% of the world's population. Banks are responsible for conducting detailed investigations into unauthorized banking transactions and cannot shift the burden onto victims of scams. Deputy Finance Minister Lim Hui Ying told the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday that banks should not blame customers for losses from online banking fraud unless there was clear evidence that the customer failed to protect his or her personal security details. Lim said this in response to Stumpin Member of Parliament Chong Chien Jin, who asked whether the government planned to amend laws so that banks were held responsible to bear the losses of the victims of bank scams that often occur.
Walau bagaimanapun, jika bukti jelas menunjukkan bahawa butiran keselamatan telah dikompromi kerana kecuaian pemilik akaun itu sendiri, bank perlu membuat pertimbangan untuk menawarkan pampasan yang sewajarnya kepada mangsa berdasarkan perincian berkaitan kes tersebut.
She said disputes over decisions or compensation can be taken to the Ombudsman for Financial Services OFS. She said Bank Negara Malaysia recently enhanced the policies regarding unauthorized electronic banking transactions. This includes ensuring financial institutions conduct more thorough and transparent investigations within a reasonable time frame, as well as implementing more effective prevention controls. Lim said from 2020 to mid-2023, the banking industry received 18,238 complaints or disputes, 11% of which related to financial fraud and were brought to the OFS, translating to about 2,000 cases. Of these, she said 75% had been resolved. As part of security measures, all police stations nationwide will close their gates from 10 p.m. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail told the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday that the decision was made after 2 policemen were killed in an assault at the Ulu Tiram police station in Johor in May. During question time, the Home Minister cited the incident in Ulu Tiram as an example where 2 people were arguing with the police when the attack happened.
Balai polis ini pintu pagarnya itu ditutup selepas 10 malam. Jadi kita kena imbangi antara balai polis tempat rakyat mengadu. Pada masa yang sama balai polis juga menjadi sasaran. Jadi kita imbangkan antara dua keperluan itu.
He added that the police have been given very clear instructions to re-examine and tighten their standard operating procedures for all their district headquarters and major stations, including the frequency of conducting patrols. On May 17th, 2 police officers, Constable Ahmad Azhar Fahmi Azhar, 22, and Constable Muhammad Shafiq Ahmad Said, 24, were killed after being attacked by a man wielding a machete at the Ulu Tiram police station in Johor. Corporal Muhammad Hasif Roslan, aged 38, was injured by a gunshot. Following the attack, police stations nationwide had been put on high alert. The main obstacle in developing Malaysia's bamboo industry is land availability. Plantations and Commodities Minister Datuk Sri Johari Abdul Ghani said the size of available land created difficulties in establishing a sustainable commercial bamboo sector for the country. The minister told the Dewan Rakyat on Tuesday that at least 2,000 hectares was needed to meet market demand or implement the concept of commercial bamboo cultivation. Johari said that many state governments were not prepared to allocate land for bamboo cultivation.
Kalau kita tengok dari segi industri sawit, kita ada 5.7 hektar, 5.7 juta hektar. Kalau getah kita ada 1.1 juta hektar. Tetapi buloh ini setakat hari ini baru 4,000 hektar. Jadi jauh perbezaan ini.
Johari said Malaysia's bamboo industry generated only 13.7 billion ringgit in exports over the past decade, with 20.7 million ringgit generated last year. Despite the incentives, he said many prefer to allocate land for palm oil cultivation due to its established ecosystem, comprehensive value chain and large export value that exceeds 100 billion ringgit. Johari said rubber and palm oil landowners were also reluctant to allocate land for bamboo cultivation. However, he affirmed the ministry's commitment to persuading landowners of the future benefits of bamboo cultivation. A team from the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC was seen arriving at the office of the Human Resource Development Corporation, or HRD Corp, on Tuesday morning. The visit comes amid scrutiny over allegations of mismanagement and corruption following revelations of irregularities highlighted in last week's release of the Auditor General AG's report. A team of 5 officers from the anti-graft agency arriving in separate vehicles were seen at HRD Corp's office at around 11:30 a.m. It is believed that they seized several boxes containing documents linked to issues highlighted in the latest AG's report. 2 more vehicles were then seen arriving at the location at around noon. It is understood that officers spent some 6 hours at the building and were seen leaving shortly before 6 p.m. with several more boxes being loaded into their vehicles. On Saturday, the MACC said it had identified several individuals to be interviewed to assist the investigation regarding the HRD Corp issue, as revealed in the AG's report. In Putrajaya, a team of 4 officers from the MACC were seen arriving at the Human Resources Ministry. The officers arrived at around 11:20 a.m. to obtain documents for the investigation into the HRD Corp issue. It is understood that the team had gone up to the 7th floor of the building, which houses the ministry's regulatory and enforcement unit. After almost 1 hour, the MACC officers were seen leaving the building carrying documents. MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner of Operations, Datuk Sri Ahmad Kusairi Yahya, had said on Saturday that a special task force was investigating the AG's findings, which included concerns about investments, fund management and training, as well as property purchases. Previously, the MACC had confirmed receiving information and several documents on HRD Corp related to the Auditor General's report from Human Resources Secretary General Datuk Sri Khairul Zaimi Daud. Following this, the MACC said it is examining the entire set of documents to determine whether there are any elements of corruption, misappropriation or abuse of power under the MACC Act. The Malaysian Digital Association MDA has named Rev Media Group's Chief Operating Officer Nicholas Sagau as its Vice President. Expressing gratitude, Nicholas said the appointment reflected the industry's confidence in its capacity to navigate challenges within the digital media publishing sector amidst the current economic climate. He said the appointment is a testament to the industry's confidence in our ability to lead the digital media publishers industry through the challenges posed by the current economic outlook, which is impacted by various factors. Omnicom Media Group Sendirian Berhad CEO Eileen Uy has been appointed president. She expressed her enthusiasm and honour at being elected for a second term as president of MDA. France enters coalition building phase. This and more from the Foreign Front when we return. France's left-wing parties arrived at the National Assembly on Tuesday for orientation sessions after having emerged from the snap legislative elections with the largest number of seats in Parliament. The lawmakers, including former President François Hollande and the party's head Olivier Faure, have vowed to go beyond disagreements with their other left-wing allies to name a Prime Minister and successfully govern. The new Popular Front NFP said it intended to govern according to its tax and spend program and that it merely needs a bit of time to organize itself as a battle was raging between its factions to claim the largest number of MPs and thereby assert leadership of the bloc. The lawmakers have until Parliament's first post-election session on July 18th to decide which group they will belong to. The United Kingdom's Parliament sat for the first time since the general election on Tuesday, with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak having swapped seats. Starmer, in his first speech as Prime Minister in the House of Commons, welcomed what he described as the most diverse parliament by race and gender. He spoke following the unopposed election of Sir Lindsay Hoyle as Speaker of the House of Commons. Earlier, the Prime Minister also hosted his first roundtable discussions with regional mayors as he looks to reset the government's relationship with the regions. Starmer told the group of 11 mayors, all made up of Labour figures other than Conservative Ben Houchen from the Tees Valley, that decisions made by those with skin in the game could be more effective than those made in Westminster and Whitehall. Zionist forces ramped up attacks on Tuesday in several areas across the northern Gaza Strip, despite new ceasefire discussions taking place. Gaza's Ministry of Health said at least 50 people were killed in the latest 24 hours and dozens wounded in strikes throughout the besieged coastal enclave. Zionist tanks deepened their incursions into some Gaza City districts such as Shujaya, Sabra and Tal al-Hawa, where residents reported some of the fiercest fighting since the start of the war. Residents have now been told to move to the central district of Deir al-Balah, which the United Nations said is already seriously overcrowded with Palestinians displaced from other areas of the Strip. Meanwhile, as the regime increases its bombardment of northern Gaza, Hamas and Israeli officials have been discussing a potential ceasefire with mediators. However, Hamas warned the intensifying attacks will bring the talks back to zero. Six people have died of heat stroke in Tokyo as Japan swelters under a rare rainy season heat wave, prompting authorities to issue a flurry of health warnings. Temperatures hit record highs near 40 degrees Celsius on Monday at observation posts in Tokyo and in the southern Wakayama region. According to the city's medical examination office, the capital logged 3 deaths linked to heat stroke on Monday, in addition to the 3 deaths on Saturday. Meanwhile, over the weekend, the central Shizuoka region became the first in Japan to see the mercury reach 40 degrees Celsius this year, far surpassing the 35-degree threshold classified by weather officials as extremely hot. The past few days have seen authorities issue heat stroke alerts in much of the country, urging residents to avoid exercising outside and to use air conditioning. At least 8 people have died after Hurricane Beryl slammed through the southern United States, knocking out power for nearly 3 million people. According to officials, 7 people had died in Texas's Harris and Montgomery counties, while 1 more fatality was confirmed in neighboring Louisiana. Officials then warned of destructive winds with up to 15 inches of rain and life-threatening storm surges. Some 2.6 million people in Texas were without power as of Monday night, and some outages were also reported in Louisiana as more than 1,100 flights were cancelled at Houston's main airport. Meanwhile, the storm also caused at least 10 deaths in the neighboring Caribbean. Beryl is expected to continue to lose strength as it gradually tracks north-northeast. However, flash flooding and heavy rain still remain a risk. Djokovic moves closer to 25th Grand Slam title. Sports when we come back. Back with us on Nightline. In Terengganu, a former member of the Malaysian Volunteer Corps, Rela, was sentenced to 43 years in prison by the Kuala Terengganu High Court for shooting dead his best friend and attempting to murder the victim's nephew. Judge Dato' Hassan Abdul Ghani handed down the sentence after the accused Ong Chow Lee, 60, pleaded guilty. According to the amended charge, the accused was accused of murdering Fong Swee Fuan, 65, who was the former Marang MCA chief. The accused was also charged with attempted murder, intending to cause the death of Teo Hock Beng, the victim's nephew, who was 45 at the time of the incident. Both offences were committed by the accused in a shed in Taman Raya Wakaf Tapai Marang between 1:20 p.m. and 1:55 p.m. on July 23, 2021. For the murder offence under Section 302 of the Penal Code, the accused was sentenced to 30 years in prison. He was also sentenced to 13 years in prison for attempted murder under Section 307 of the Penal Code. The court ordered the prison sentences to run concurrently from the date of arrest, which was July 23, 2021. In Malacca, a male teacher was charged at the Aikaro Magistrates Court for allegedly slapping and pulling the hair of a male student in 2022. The 48-year-old claimed trial to the charge. The plea from the disciplinary teacher, Muhammad Hirman Ishaq, was recorded before Magistrate Khairunisa Hasni on Tuesday. Based on the charge sheet, the accused had intentionally caused injury to a 17-year-old student by slapping the latter's face multiple times and pulling his hair. The alleged assault took place in a teacher's room at a secondary school in Bukit Baru at about 11:30 a.m. on December 19, 2022. The charge was framed under Section 323 of the Penal Code, which provides for imprisonment of up to 1 year or a fine of up to 2,000 ringgit or both upon conviction. The court granted bail of 2,000 ringgit with one surety and set an additional condition where the accused is not permitted to disturb the victim as he is a prosecution witness. August 22nd has been fixed for case mention. As Nightline draws to a close this time around, let's take a look as dragon dance performers from China impress a Spanish audience with a fascinating show inspired by a Chinese folktale. With that, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you for watching and we'll see you next time.